Hello there, Ray here, and Jeb came out with a new type of snapshot. So this is a 1.14.3 snapshot, but it's different in that it is a different branch of the normal snapshots. He specifically sets us up to test combat. So you can see this snapshot is called combat testing. And what he did in this snapshot is he changed the way combat works. Because ever since they did changes in 1.9 to do with long-term combat mechanics, people have always not been satisfied with them. So one of Jeb's goals with this snapshot is to try to bring awareness to different things that are causing problems with the current combat system, and they're looking for input from the players on trying to find a way to bridge the different aspects of combat so that all parts of the community will enjoy it. So I'm going to show you guys the changes that they did in this version, as well as talk about what this means for the vanilla survival player, especially the technical player, and how this is actually a really big change for people making automated farms. Now the biggest change that they came with this snapshot is one that got me really excited, is because it's one that I suggested to them, which is having the ability to just hold down your attack button and constantly be able to have your sword swing in front of you. That way you wouldn't have to do intense clicking. And they actually added this, so I'm super excited that they took my suggestion and they added it to this snapshot here. But here you can see I'm just holding down my left click mouse button, and if I walk around, just aim towards any mob or anything, it'll just automatically destroy it, and you see it just starts attacking any mob and starts applying the sword damage to anything that is in front of me. This is just amazing, and I'm so glad that they finally have started thinking about applying this to Minecraft, so hopefully they will apply this to the game. So one of the worst things I don't like about combat is where you have to constantly keep clicking your mouse and just a lot of clicking that's not necessary. So with this new change, it should make it a lot easier for people that don't really want to do spam clicking, that people that are actually concerned about their fingers getting damaged over time. And you can do this with any tool or nothing in your hand at all, it doesn't really matter. You just hold it down and your guy will just start punching stuff. This also opens the door to a lot of automation, as the player is now able to pretty much start attacking anything that comes in front of him. So you can have any type of farm where you collect mobs, put them in front of the player, and he starts to hit at them. But it doesn't even have to be mobs, it could be entities as well, and the player will start to hit them as well. So if I just hold down my attack and then I move in front of like these paintings, you can see I can easily knock them all off. So it's really cool that you can do this without having to need like an auto clicker or any third-party program. Because with a third-party program, it's also possible to just have the entire program play the game for you, and you wouldn't have to do anything. And that's another reason why I wanted that feature into the game. Now, it was possible in some versions, like back in 1.12, to actually do this kind of trick where you can have your person constantly clicking. But it's only really able to be done in single player very easily. And it was considered a bug, and it was removed like in 1.13. But with these changes, it means that you can do crazy types of automation. And this is a Vex farm that we designed during the stream. It allows you to have an alternative way to farm up iron. Now, pretty much everything on this farm works, but one of the problems we had is that they changed a mechanic in the game where you can no longer hold looting sword and then apply damage using something like a snowball. So before I could go ahead and I could put like snowballs offhand here, and I could throw them at this Vex. And then when the Vex would die, it'll say that it was hit by the player not too long ago, and the player was holding a sword, and that sword happened to have looting on it, and therefore it'll apply the looting effect to the kill, and then that Vex would have a chance of dropping its iron sword, which you could melt down into an iron nugget, and then the iron nuggets can be made into iron ingots as well as iron blocks. This ability is no longer in the game, but with this change that they made to the combat, if it goes through, it's possible to just go ahead and have the player kind of sit in front of where the farm is here, and just have the player swinging with his fist. That way he can hit the Vex, and then when the Vex does die, it'll have a chance of dropping an iron ingot. You also see it drops XPs because it's considered a kill by the player. This opens the door to so much types of automation. Not only does it work for stuff that's really complex like Vex farms, which you have to use looting on to get their iron swords, but this can also be applied to very simple farms, even like a chicken farm, where the chickens, once they have grown up, you can have them sent to the player, where the player will be sitting there with a sword and killing them. And this would open the door to making infinitely automatic farms so much more easier, as currently we have to either use like a trick with snowballs to damage them while holding a sword, which the looting part of that has been removed. You're still able to hit mobs with snowballs and have that count as your kill, or you can use stuff like a potion to try to kill them. Those use projectiles which eventually run out. If you see my blaze farm, I have a blaze farm where I use snowballs snowballs to kill them, also one or use dogs and shields to have them be killed. And that's another method you could use, is having dogs, but that usually means the player has to take damage. Another method that I use quite often is having thorns on the player. That also means that the mob has to do damage to you for your thorns to turn around and kill the mob and therefore count it as the player kill. So I'm really excited to see all the different types of crazy automation that we can do as soon as they verify that they're going to add this into the game. I really see no reason why they shouldn't add it, as this really will reduce the amount of clicking people have to do when attacking. And it kind of makes sense because like when you're doing other things, like when you're breaking blocks, if you hold down your left click button, you're just automatically able to destroy stuff in front of you eventually. And for the most part, it works the same way for like placing stuff. If you just hold down right click, you're constantly able to place down stuff. So it kind of makes sense that they would do the same thing for like the weapons. If you just hold them down, you'll constantly be able to attack anything that is directly in front of them. But as you guys know, my main goal is to make every single type of farm infinitely automatic, meaning that you can go ahead and set the player up with a farm and the farm will continue to work without any new input from you. And with this new change, it should be possible to almost do anything in Minecraft. So that's definitely something we will have a lot of fun looking forward to. Another thing that they did is they made it so you can swing faster. There's less of a cooldown, so every time you swing, there's a little indicator right by my cursor, which will slowly charge back up to that full sword image. And we did some testing during the stream, and it seems that the speed is pretty much double as it was before. So before you had to wait about 1 second after swinging for it to fully charge, and then you can swing again. And both those times it would allow you to do the sweeping attack. Now it seems to be about half that time, so you can swing about every half a second. So you still can swing really quickly at animals if you just spam click, but it doesn't allow the sword to completely charge, therefore you won't do the max amount of damage. This means even things like axe, which used to be fairly slow. So just as before, you can go ahead and hover over top of the tools and it'll tell you the attack speed of them. So for axe, it used to be 1 and now it's 2, so it's essentially doubled. And same thing goes for the spade. It was 1 and now it's 2. The pickaxe was actually 1.2 and now it's 2.5. So it's a little bit more than twice the speed. Now they decreased the speed of the hoe. The hoe used to be 4 attack speed and now it's only 3.5. The diamond sword used to be 1.6 and now it is 3 attack speed, so not quite doubled. What we might also notice is that they added a new attribute to these weapons. The sword here actually has something called attack reach, and this is how far the weapon can reach outwards. So on average, a player can reach 3.5 blocks away from him when in survival. So this can be illustrated with a setup like this, and this is measured from the center of the player to the outside edge of the mob. So if I set up a trap door just like this, and this over here, then I can actually stand between them, and this is pretty much an easy way to put the player in the center of a block. And then what we got is pretty much a half a block, because if we start from the center, 1, 2, 3, and then the shulker is over here. Now you're only able to reach the maximum distance if you're facing directly straight, so we actually have to have the shulker the same wide level as the player head is facing. So with the shulker up here, if we stand all the way back in here, we should be able to attack them. And 3.5 meters is the distance that you can attack anything from while being in survival. Now I'm currently not in survival, but they happen to do a change also in this version where pretty much everything you do in creative is just like survival. But notice if I tried to whack at the shulker facing a little bit upwards or a little bit downwards, I'm unable to hit him. But if I face directly straight on, I'm able to do damage to him. Now the same thing goes for a sword, as they are 3.4 meters of attack. But this only applies if you're spam clicking. So if I'm spam clicking like this, you can see that only when I face directly forward am I able to kill the shulker. Now the only tools that they display the reach on is the sword as well as the hoe and the trident. Now the hoe has an extended reach of 4 meters. This is also same as the trident, which also has a reach of 4 meters. So it's slightly longer than the other tools. So from here was 3.5 meters, and if I back up and close this should be 4 meters. Just like the sword, this only applies to if you're spam clicking. So if I'm spam clicking, you see I'm unable to hit the shulker when I'm facing a little bit upwards. If I start aiming straight onwards, you can see I can hit them. Now the reason why it only applies during spam clicking is because they changed the way that the charging of each tool works. So any kind of special attack only occurs if you have the tool fully charged. So this includes critical hits, as well as the sweeping ability that swords used to be able to do. And this also applies to knockback, so you won't get any of these effects unless you fully let your sword completely charge up. And these are known as special attacks. They also did some tweaking with the amount of damage each tool does, so like the sword here actually was made so it actually does more damage. The shovel was decreased by damage by a little bit. The pickaxe was increased by 1, and the axe was kept the same. But the biggest change came with the diamond hoe, which they tripled the amount of attack damage it does. And with the trident, they went ahead and removed 2 attack damage from it, so it's a little bit weaker. So the special attacks, like critical hits, can only be applied if you're not spam clicking and you let the bar fully charge. So if I jump up and then go down, you can see I got a critical hit with those little brown particles there. But notice if I constantly spam and then I come over top of it, the player, and I try to critical hit him, you see it doesn't apply to him. And this is probably to encourage people to take time to let their weapon charge before trying to apply a critical hit. Now, the same thing is also supposed to apply to knockback, but that one doesn't seem to really apply because if I go ahead and spam it and then I hit the player, you see I'm still able to get knockback applied to him. And one of the things they changed is that even if you have a fully charged bar and you swing a sword, it's not going to do that kind of sweeping attribute of the sword where it hit like multiple mobs all at once. So I put a bunch of cows down here, let my sword fully charge and swing. You see it only applies it to the cow that I'm actually aiming at. So with these changes, it means you have to actually get the sweeping edge enchantment on it. So if you have the sweeping edge enchantment applied to it, now you're able to go ahead and swing at multiple cows all at once. But if you spam it and then you come over and hit a cow, it will not do that sweeping effect. So you still need to let it charge to get that applied. One of the funny things that you can do is you can just swing your sword somewhat near an entity and it will still get pushed by the sweeping deck. So if I'm just facing this way, not actually facing the hitbox of the player, and I sweep, you'll see I'm able to actually do damage and to push him. Now the knockback is also only supposed to apply if the player isn't spamming, but that doesn't seem to be the case, as if I turn, you see I can knock the player far away from me, even though I was spam clicking. Now if you're not spam clicking with like a hoe or like a sword here, you're actually able to reach even farther than like the 3.5 that it says, or like the 4 that it says. So you let your tool charge all the way up, which they consider 200%. You can perform the special attacks as well as you can also reach a little further. So with this hoe, I went ahead and put in another trapdoor, so I am 4.5 blocks away from it, even though it says it just reaches 4 blocks on the actual hoe. If I aim upwards, if I aim upwards or downwards and click at them, I'm actually unable to hurt them. And if I spam click and try to hit him in the center, I'm also unable to attack him and hurt him. If I let the hoe fully charge and aim directly in the center and click, you see I am able to hit him. This also applies to swords, which are normally only 3.5 meters. But if I stand right here on this line, I'll be 4 blocks away from him. If I swing kind of down low, see I'm unable to hit him. If I swing really fast, unable to hit him in the center. If I let it fully charge and then swing, I'm actually able to hit him. Now another big change that's made is to do with shields. Now if you hold your shield up in front of you, you actually will deflect all damage that comes towards you. So here I got my alt account with his shield held up, and if I go ahead and try to hit him, he won't actually take any damage, but there is a visual bug which makes it look like his shield fell down again, but he actually has it still up. And if I swing again, you see that even though I'm doing a damage which is considered quite high, that's what those blue particles are for, I'm unable to do any damage to him even though he is in survival mode. So I can swing all day from this side, which is the side that the shield is protecting from, and I'm unable to do any damage to him. Now if I come in from the back side here, I can actually hurt him. As you can see, he turned red. That is because the shield only protects from the front side here. You can even hear when I try to hit him, he actually has his shield up. This is a pretty big change, meaning that if you come and try to attack someone that has a shield, if they're holding it up, you will do no damage to them, but it will do damage to the shield. Now there are ways to get around the person holding a shield up, and this is by doing a critical attack, which is a jump attack. So if I jump up and then hit him, you see I'm able to apply my attack to him. Now his shield is still technically up, but the damage is able to go directly through it just because it's a critical attack. Now another change that they made to the shield is that the shield has no warm-up delay. So before, if you would hit someone with a shield, the shield would go down and then it would slowly come back up again. And now it will instantly come back up. And I'll show you guys that by switching places with this account. Now another big change that they made to do with shields is that the shield will automatically come up and block you if you have in your offhand and if you crouch. So if you hit your shift key and you're sneaking, you see how the shield automatically comes up. And this kind of makes sense because when you're shifting, you're already going kind of slow. And if you normally have the shield like in your main hand and you hold it down to block your face and you're trying to walk, you're also moving slow. So that's just a nice little feature that when you're doing like some PvPing and you're crouching, you're just automatically having your shield up. So you don't have to be like holding 2 buttons to do the same thing. Now this doesn't apply when it's in your main hand. Like right now I have it in my main hand and I'm holding crouch and it doesn't put the shield up. Now, one of the things they said is that attacks only happen when you are fully charged, even if you spam click. And this doesn't really seem to be the case, because then you would think that if I was spam clicking, I would not be able to do any damage to the cow. So I'm not too sure what they're considering an attack. Now, the axe still has that special ability to knock players' shields down. So if I go ahead and attack this player, you can see I'm able to get through his shield sometimes. So pretty much what it does is the first attack will put the shield down, and then the second attack will hurt him. So I put his shield down, and then I hurt him. Like right now, his shield is down, and I hurt him. And then after a short delay, he'll automatically put it back up again. That's because my other account has the right click button held down. So I'll show you guys what it looks like from that player's view. So to have my account have the shield held down, all I did is hold my right click and then do F3 plus T, which just reloads the resource pack. And that will also keep whatever buttons you held down automatically held down afterwards, so I can lift up on them as soon as that screen comes up. So now my player automatically has his shield held up, and I'll just kind of face him towards my other player, my other account, which is the one that is attacking him. So here I'm coming in with my sword, and I'm just going to try to attack him, and you'll see that I will be unable to do any damage to him. So constantly hitting him. You can see the shield is taking some damage, but I'm unable to actually do any real damage to the player. Now I'll come in and do a critical hit where I'll jump and then land a hit onto him. So if I jump and land a hit, you see I am able to hurt him. You can do this with whatever tool you want to. So I can use like a trident, and you see I'm able to hit him. You just have to remember to let your attack fully charge up before attacking. And now you guys can see what it looks like when I attack with an axe. So if I attack with an axe, notice how my shield is down to the right. And after a short period of time, it will, yep, there it goes, automatically goes back up in front of the player. So when it's down, I can go ahead and hurt the player with whatever tool I want. Then he will eventually put it back up. So you could do like a combo attack where you hit a player with an axe and then you switch over to something like a hoe. And a hoe is super fast and also has pretty good attack, but it still doesn't really compensate for the swords and axe to do, especially if they're enchanted. But let's just go ahead and give it a try. See if I knock down his thing and then do a whole bunch of little small attacks. It's actually not too bad, but he does have a lot of armor on, so he kind of prevents any attack from really hurting him. Player also looks kind of cool when he is like holding his shield up and he's going slow. That looks like a very tanky opponent to go after. Now you can go ahead and put your shield like your offhand and attack with your sword, and then block, then attack and block. You can see how it's very quick. There's not like a slow transition between the two. And when your shield's up, your sword is still able to charge. So definitely seeing this being a new type of kind of combat strategy is to stay behind your shield for most of the time and then release it and attack and then put it back up again. Now they did another change which is not as noticeable. It has to do with the amount of times mobs can take damage. So you might have noticed that if you attack a mob like really quickly, there's periods of time where you hit the mob when it's kind of red and you notice that it's unable to take any more damage. This is because after you hit the mob, there's an invulnerability time where the mob is unable to take any new damage until that cooldown period is over. Typically, it's about half a second that you have to wait before doing another attack. This becomes really apparent if you've seen my video where I killed the Ender Dragon in just over 1 second. This is because the Ender Dragon is unable to take any more damage, so even though I can do a lot of damage to the dragon, I have to wait that cooldown period before doing more damage to it. And what they changed is they said that if you're using a tool that is quick, so like this hoe is very quick, having attack speed of 3.5, you're able to actually, when hitting it, it will have a shorter cooldown period, meaning that you can do more attacks in a shorter period of time. So this is something that's pretty noticeable when you have a mob taking damage for something like magma blocks and you come in and you try to do more damage to it, and a lot of times you're unable to just because it's already having that cooldown period from like the magma block below it. And this is why like wither roses put on top of magma blocks don't actually do any more damage than just like magma blocks on their own or wither roses. But with these changes, it might actually allow it so that you can actually do more damage, where you have the mob on something that's taking damage and you're also coming in with a quick weapon to do more damage on top of that. So I talked a little bit why they went ahead and opened up the snapshot and they're asking people for their opinion, but I'll go into more in depth at why they're trying to fix this. So with the 1.9 update, they went ahead and changed a lot of different things, and one of those was that you couldn't spam click and you couldn't like block and attack at the same time, which people really enjoyed who were part of the PvP community. So this made 1.9 combat much slower than it was before. It wasn't exciting for people, as people like to kind of like hop around and spam click their mouse. And with the changes to 1.9, I mean your sword had to be fully charged before attacking, and it was almost impossible to kill players that were like fully geared, especially if they were like eating notch apples or if they had like great enchantments on them. You'd have to wait until their armor was actually completely destroyed before even having a chance and able to kill them. And there was an aspect that these new mechanics were just too difficult for new players to understand. Now that's just the Java edition. The Bedrock has their own problems to do with it, and what they're trying to do is make a new type of combat system that works not only for Bedrock but also for Java. And they want to kind of keep Java and Bedrock the same, so they're going to try and make a combat system that works for both of them. And you got to remember that people that play on Bedrock can also play on controllers, and doing like a whole bunch of spam clicking on controllers was a clear disadvantage over someone who was using a mouse and keyboard. Now with this snapshot out and people trying it out, people have already gave feedback on what they think of the different changes. So a lot of people are saying that the auto attack feature is too easy. They think it's good for like people that are using controllers, but they think by default it should be turned off for people using like mouse and keyboard. That's okay. I don't mind if you have to go in here and like turn on some settings so you can auto attack stuff. Similar to like auto jump, I don't think that should be default on either. Long as they don't go ahead and just say, well, console players can have it, but everyone else, they can't have it at all. Because even though I play Java and mostly use a mouse and keyboard, I do once in a while play with my controller. And it would be really nice to be able to have it there as well. So another thing that people brought up is that it really makes a big difference if you're attacking a mob versus attacking a player. So another thing people brought up is that there's a big difference between like attacking a cow as well as attacking a player, even though you're using the same kind of weapons and same kind of mechanics. And that's something Jeb brought up. I said it's very difficult to make kind of weapons so that it's somewhat hard to attack like mobs, but also not too difficult to attack players. And there's a big difference because mobs don't have like armor and they usually have like 10 health, which is quite different from a player who has more health, more armor, as well as can have different effects. So it makes it hard for Mojang to know exactly how much attack damage different weapons should give. What they could do, it has like some weapons that work better on players than like on mobs, and maybe that'd be a way to kind of separate the two. Now, another concern people brought out is that you can go ahead and you can crouch, so your shield is up and you can still attack a player, meaning that you can attack while also being completely protected as long as they attack you from front on. And they said this is just actually a bug, so they'll fix this, and then what they'll do is they'll have the shield briefly go off when you're trying to swing. And this is just something that they ported over from Bedrock. Now there's another problem is that when they did these changes, they also applied pretty much all the characteristics of survival into creative. As I kind of talked about before, this also means when you come to breaking blocks, if you try to spam click super fast to break a whole bunch of blocks in creative, you can see it's actually the same speed as if you're doing it in survival. And some people are responding saying that they still prefer 1.8 combat, to which Jeb replied, that's okay, but he wants to know why you prefer that and what things can be done to make this new combat system likable for them. I'm not much for PvP, but I'm still really fascinated by the different mechanics that it uses, especially if it makes it easier to make infinitely automatic farms. So I really just have to see how everything goes, but it sounds like they're going to continue to kind of update this version of the snapshot and continue to get feedback from the players. Now you guys can also go ahead and play with this snapshot, and in that link to the original post, do have instructions on how to download this. Essentially what you'll do is download it and then throw the folder into your versions folder, and then you'll have to find it on your launcher and then run it. I had a little bit of trouble downloading it as well, but with the help of you guys during the stream, we were able to get it downloaded and actually do a lot of testing during our stream, which is a lot of fun. And if you guys would like to participate in the streams, you can always find my schedule on my Twitch channel. And I have that link as well as many other useful links down in the descriptions of my videos. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about these changes, and if you guys would like to see the original post, I'll put it down in the description. And if you guys have any suggestions on things that they should change about, please tell me down in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to go ahead and show it with a like as well as share it with someone else that might also be fascinated with this change. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, you should go ahead and do so. I am going to come out with my 50,000 subscriber special, where I will be touring my 10-year-old single-player survival world. And I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.